Hindi and the celebration of Hindi. Hindi Diwas is under a cloud of parochialism. Instead of celebrating a language of 56% Indians, those who speak it are being derided and denigrated as chai waalas and pan waalas. Can insulting a language and its heritage be a matter of anyone's regional pride? Remember this despite the Home Minister Amit Shah today categorically saying that the centre respects and promotes all languages and takes pride in India's diversity. Why then are people speaking a specific language being singled out for derision? Today, in fact, this question was again reignited when during a protest by the JDS, one of their leaders, CM Ibrahim, said that we do not need to learn Hindi because we do not want to go to the north and sell pani puris. Listen in at the beginning to what CM Ibrahim said.
हमारा देश भाषाई रूप से बहुत समृद्ध देश है। मैं इसको हमारे देश का कोई त्रुटि नहीं मानता हूं। ये हमारी बहुत बड़ी ताकत है। कुछ लोग अपप्रचार कर रहे हैं कि हिंदी और गुजराती स्पर्धक है, हिंदी और तमिल स्पर्धक है, हिंदी और मराठी स्पर्धक है। हिंदी देश की कोई भाषा की स्पर्धक हो नहीं सकती। हिंदी देश की सभी भाषाओं की सखी है। ये बात आप मानकर चलिए।
भारत ಒಂದು ಒಕ್ಕೂಟ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ, ವಿವಿಧ ಭಾಷೆ, ವಿವಿಧ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿ ಇರುವಂಥ ರಾಜ್ಯಗಳ ಒಂದು ಒಕ್ಕೂಟ. ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಭಾಷೆಯನ್ನು ಹೇರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅವಕಾಶ ಇಲ್ಲ. ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಧಾನಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟವಾಗಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾತೃಭಾಷೆಗಳೇನಿದ್ದಾವೆ, ಪ್ರಾದೇಶಿಕ ಭಾಷೆಗಳು, ಅವೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಭಾಷೆಗಳಂತಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
ನಮಗೆ ಬೇಕಾಗೇ ಇಲ್ಲ, ನಾವೇನು ಪಾನಿಪುರಿ ಮಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆ ಹಿಂದಿಯವರೇ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ಪಾನಿಪುರಿ ಮಾರ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾದರೂ ಪಾನಿಪುರಿ ಮಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಾರಲ್ಲೇ ಇವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತದಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಲ್ ಗುಜರಾತ್ ಮಾಡಲ್, UP ಮಾಡಲ್, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕರ್ಸಿಪ್ ಮಾಡೋರು ಪಾನಿಪುರಿ ಪಾನ್ ಬಿಡ ಮಾರ ಅವರೇ.
See, when some language enters, it brings the culture with it. You can see the difference that in the northern nations, a person to become a king should be a Kshatriya. Here, anybody who can rule can become a king.
All right, let's go straight across to our guest joining us now, Syed Zafar Islam, national spokesperson of the BJP, Rahul Ishwar, activist, A Sarvanan, spokesperson of DMK, TR Prasad Gowda, spokesperson of the JDS, will be joining us in just a bit. Let's start with you, Mr. Syed Zafar Islam. Today, again, there are renewed fears that Hindi is being thrust on people. And this time it has come not from Tamil Nadu, it has come from Karnataka. Why do you think this is?
See, first of all, it's a misconception. And it is an allegation by some of the leaders who have lost base in their own states. That's why they are making this kind of statement. Fact is that Hindi is a language, and other languages which are being spoken in other states are also being respected. So all the languages are being respected by our government, and we want every language to flourish, and people should speak the language they feel comfortable. But there are people like the former Chief Minister of Karnataka, JDS leader. He is making a lot of drama, making wild allegation, and everything is a concocted story that has been clarified by our leader, that we are not telling that everyone has to speak Hindi, but there has to be some respect for language, which is a language which is spoken by 61 crore or 56% people of our country, and it is being celebrated not in our government, it is celebrated since 1949. See the composition of the committee which was there under Baba Saheb. That committee has people from representative from even Tamil Nadu. So it is unfair to make this kind of allegation. They should not concoct a story and spread rumors and made wild allegation against our government. We want every language to flourish, and if people should speak the language they feel comfortable. But Hindi is a language which is
today you have the reinforcement coming from the Home Minister, from the Chief Minister of Karnataka. Then why is the same parochial politics after Tamil Nadu now being replicated in Karnataka?
See,
So Mr. Sarvanan, Mr. Syed Zafar Islam. It's for Mr. Sarvanan. Yes.
Statement by
See, Padmaja, we have had this debate many a times. BJP is a Hindi majoritarian party. Nobody can dispute that. The statements, the previous statements made by the BJP leaders clearly are very illustrative of this. And now they cannot say that we are encouraging other languages. Hindi is another language. No. The partiality that is shown to Hindi is not shown to the importance that is given to Hindi only because it is spoken by a majority of the population, is not given to any other language. Every year 75 crores is being spent on Hindi for promotion of Hindi language, teaching Hindi language, and 600 crores for Sanskrit, and I think $800,000 has been spent by the foreign the UN, so that Hindi will be propagated. Why this importance is not given to any other language? Is this the same kind of money that is spent for other Indian languages? BJP is hell-bent on homogenizing, which does not augur well for the unity. They think oneness is unity. That is not the truth. They are not celebrating the plurality of our country. The BJP is afraid of the pluralistic nature of our country. That is the problem, and that is why all their policies and everything. Name one scheme of the union government which is in any other regional language. Leave regional language. Is there any scheme of the union government which is in English, which is a neutral language? When the BJP is doing all this to promote Hindi to the detriment of the other languages, how can we believe what the BJP says? I think the our JDS in Karnataka is correct in opposing Hindi Diwas there. They don't want their government to celebrate one particular language. Celebrate all the
Islam
languages.
wants to respond to you. I think he wants to tell you about the scheme. Yes.
Yes.
I think he must understand. I don't know which party he is representing. I'm assuming it's a DMK from DMK, the DMK spokesperson.
Absolutely.
But let me tell you that we are not saying that we are only encouraging Hindi. We are encouraging every single language which is being spoken
No, you are
in
not,
the country.
sir.
And each language complements the other language. Each language complements the other language, and that is something which is. And we are not imposing Hindi to people who are speaking Tamil or for that matter some other languages. It complements, you speak, and we encourage every languages, but it is unfair to say that is something which is being celebrated and promoted by earlier government. You had no problem. Is it being done today or Hindi Diwas is being celebrated since 1949? So why you are making this kind of a drama and making allegation against our government and BJP? We are only saying that each language, and haven't you heard the Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Home Minister, what did he say? We are not imposing it. We are saying that yes, each language complements it. Sakhi means what? It's complementing each other. The friends. Each language is a friend of other. So that is what he said. It means each language complements the other language. So there is no restriction for you to speak, but there has to be a language which is being spoken by 56% of the population, and third largest population of a language which is Hindi being spoken in the country, that there has to be some level of acknowledgement for the large number of people who are speaking that language.
And it's not just about that. It is the derision for Hindi speakers. Just a second, Mr. Srinivas Gowda. You have a leader, just a second, sir. You have a leader of your party saying, why should we learn Hindi? We don't want to go there and sell pani puri. Why? Again, this kind of derision. We saw it earlier happening in Tamil Nadu. Now we see it happening in Karnataka. Why? Okay, clearly we have a jinx here. Yes, go on. Answer that, Mr. Sarvanan.
The way the BJP is imposing Hindi, it is only trying to ensure that there is more regionalism coming in. We are ensuring that the Hindi is not imposed. They are not able to, I think their objective is not to ensure that every language is treated equally. The spokesperson from the BJP is saying that every language is treated equally. No, sir. Hindi is imposed everywhere in the challans. In the
Okay, just a second. I believe we finally have Mr. Srinivas Gowda back with us. Sir, how can you talk about Hindi speakers with derision? For CM Ibrahim to say that we don't need to learn Hindi because we don't need to go sell pani puri anywhere, how is that respecting a language?
You're asking me?
Yes, Mr. Gowda.
Yeah. See, Bangalore is facing a lot of problems, and our government is not able to solve many of the problems, and now we are facing infrastructural problems, civic communities problems. In between, instead of looking at all these problems, and the government is willing to just celebrate Hindi Diwas just to please the central leaders, and our leader H.D. Kumaraswamy said not to spend money from the government just for the celebrations. That's what he meant, because
why do you have members of your party making disparaging comments about another language? You demand respect for your language, and rightly so. Why disparage others?
Our state of Karnataka, in our state of Karnataka, imposing forcibly Hindi is not allowed. We will not accept it.
Who is imposing forcibly, sir? The Chief Minister literally made a comment today in the Assembly saying there is no forcible imposition.
Forcible, one second, please listen to me. Imposing the language, we will not accept it. Not necessary. We know Hindi. I know Hindi. But you are no last person to impose Hindi on us. Don't do that. We are not able to celebrate. Why we should celebrate? It's not
forcible imposition.
Celebrate. Why?
It was in 1980 that Dakshina Bharata Hindi Prajara Sabha was started by the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, long before BJP was there, long before even RSS was born. 70 years before RSS was born, Mahatma Gandhi started Dakshina Bharata Hindi Prajara Sabha. He was the president of it till 1948. Why a Gujarati Mahatma Gandhi wanted to promote Hindi?
Your mood is celebrate. When your house is not in order, you are only thinking about celebration. Just listen to this for a second, sir. Just listen to this for a second. From
1980 to 1940, Mahatma Gandhi was the head of the Hindi Prajara Sabha. He sent his own son across South India to promote Hindi. He was a Gujarati because he understood there is a cultural context, there is a historical context, and Hindi can be a linked language. Every language belonged to us, and it was PM Narendra Modi. We all know that language is a touchy issue, but it was PM Narendra Modi who proudly said that Tamil is older than Sanskrit. This was pointed out by people like Swami Vivekananda. We all know the sensitivity of language, and Modi ji was so strong in saying that Tamil is older than Sanskrit. So we have a government which very well understands the nuances and sensitivities of language and promotes all language. But India being a nation for itself, India has a large context and historical context, and we cannot forget that. Starting from Mahatma Gandhi, not BJP. And Hindi is a linked language to all Indians. The Hindi movie stars is a linked language to all channels. And see, this is how we integrate. We need to have a three-language policy. Malayalam, Tamil, all the South Indian language, plus Hindi, plus English.
No, it's not a linked language.
Why can't we have such a synergy?
You are not the representative. You are not the representative
Sir,
of
why
the
can't
regional
Hindi be a linked language?
No.
And Sharananji, are you denying Mahatma Gandhi himself? Are you denying Mahatma Gandhi himself?
I am stating what the fact is. I am stating what the fact is. Hindi cannot be a linked language. There is the problem. See, English only can be a linked language because English is a leveler. English. I'll make this point. See, English is foreign to you, is foreign to me, is foreign to someone from Uttar Pradesh, is foreign to someone from Karnataka. So it can only be the leveler. Hindi can never be a linked language. If Hindi is made the linked language, then it will make every other citizen a second-class citizen in this country, which we have almost fought for the last 70 years.
Tamil, Hindi, Malayalam, Kannada, they all belong to us.
We are Indians, right? You are
They all belong to us.
India, being Indian is different. Hindi is different. Please don't equate Hindi with being Indian.
Sir, these languages all belong to us.
Ridiculous argument anybody can ever make.
These languages belong to us. It's Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada, Assam, Odia.
Not equivalent to Hindi.
They belong to us.
Get it, please get it. You are not the representative of any of the regional languages. You are an apologist.
Sir, I am a Malayali myself. I am from South India. I am a Malayali myself. I know Hindi. I speak in Hindi.
That's what I'm saying.
Don't
be an apologist for Hindi imposition. Don't be an
Sir,
apologist
I'm a
for
proud
Hindi
Malayali,
imposition.
I'm a proud South Indian, I'm a proud Dravidian, but at the same point of time, we are Indians too. We need a common connected link language. Are you saying Mahatma Gandhi
English
had a
is the common
homogenizing
connecting
agenda?
language.
Are you saying Gandhiji had a RSS agenda?
If you are ignorant, I'll enlighten you. The same debate happened in the Constituent Assembly. They said English will be the link language. Yeah, so that
Sir,
is the
then there was Munshi Iyengar
If you're
formula
not
too.
able to understand, if you're not able to understand that Hindi, this language which is spoken by the majority of the people of the country, is going to become the official language or the link language. It is that language which will flourish. It is the people who speak that language will try to dominate everybody else. Again, I'm putting it, anybody else, if Hindi is made the link language, anybody else who is not a non-native speaker of Hindi will become a second-class citizen in this country, which we have not allowed for the 70 years and which we will not allow for the BJP to impose.
Our father of the nation, Prime Minister, President, they are not Hindi speakers. Are they becoming second-class citizens? Majority of the posts don't belong to native Hindi speakers.
Right now, English is a link language. I am saying if Hindi is going to be made the link language, as pointed out by Mr. Amit Shah, Mr. Amit Shah says Hindi should be the language which we should communicate with all the other states. That is not acceptable.
But he clarified it later,
we want
sir.
English.
Padmaja, can I just come in for 10 seconds, please?
Yes, Syed Zafar Islam.
Can I just come? I have a very basic question to JDS and other spokesperson of DMK.
Yes, we will answer.
See, if a Gujarati can learn Hindi, a Maharashtrian can learn Hindi, northeastern people can speak Hindi.
Why should we learn it, sir?
A person who is born in Odisha, they can learn Hindi. There are other in West Bengal, they can speak Hindi. Why can't you speak Hindi? I'm not saying that it's a language you should speak, but it is a linked language where everybody appreciates it.
How will
Secondly,
it improve my life?
no, just a second.
No, let me. You have asked that question. I'll answer it.
Allow me to complete.
No.
You have see. Arey, come listen. Let me just complete. Let me just complete. Then you can start shouting and barking. I am just making a statement.
I warn you.
Please.
I warn you. Don't use this array. That is a derogatory word.
You please listen to me.
Give respect.
Don't you understand English?
Give respect.
I am talking to you in English.
I understand.
You respect. You have some decency.
You are against English. That is the problem.
You have to have some decency. No, I am speaking in English. You must. I am sure that you understand English. Allow me to complete.
You are using a derogatory word.
You don't have decency. We respect all the language. You have hatred for Hindi. We respect all the language. We are not anti-Tamil. We are not anti-Gujarati. We are not anti-Maharashtra. We are for even though we are born in Hindi speaking land, still we have respect for every languages. But you don't have.
You don't have.
You have no respect for other languages. You have no respect for Hindi. You have no respect for other. You have no respect for Bengali. You have no respect for Maharashtrian language. So you need to say India brings diversity. There are people who speak different languages. India shows diversity to the world, and you have no respect for this diversity also.
You know, anyone demanding respect for their language is absolutely legitimate. Every language is an Indian language. No one is superior to the other. But to use that as an excuse to run others down, that cannot be allowed in our country. I'm going to have to leave it at that. Thank you very much, all gentlemen, for joining me. This is also the big story ahead on the News Hour agenda.